Hi everyone. Let's get started and bake a veggie chicken couscous today. We're going to start out with having a pan on the stove and a small saucepan, as well as a 9x13 pan, or the bottom pan of your broiler. You can use that too. Just take the grill top off. You're also going to need a grater, a can opener, and your trusty knife and cutting board. All right. To get started, we're going to start by cooking our couscous. We have to start boiling the water. So we're going to take our saucepan and we're going to add water to it. About 2 cups of water. And to add some more flavor, we're going to add 1 can of chicken broth. Now this Cento chicken broth will add that little bit of chicken flavor that will just make the couscous a little bit tastier. All right, so open your can. There we go. Let's see if I can get this out today. We'll pour that right in. All right. And we're going to start this boiling. So turn the stove on high. Up. There we go. Turn that on high. Add a little pinch of salt in there. And put that lid on. We don't want to lose any of that chicken broth and water. All right, while the water and broth are coming to a boil, we're going to start our oven up and get ready to broil some sweet potatoes. Now, broiling adds a little bit of extra flavor because it caramelizes the sugars in the sweet potatoes a little bit. Start off by turning your oven on to broil. All right, yeah. Grab your big pan, set it in front of you. Let's get started chopping our sweet potatoes. Now, sweet potatoes' ends are a little tough, so we're going to take those right off. Throw them in the compost. Now, cut your sweet potato in half. It's a little tougher, so be patient. Set one half aside, and the other half we want to cut in half again. All right, that gives us a nice thinner pieces of sweet potato. We're going to cube this, and we're going to cube it fairly small because we want it to cook really quickly, and the broiler will do that. So we're going to cut, about 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch strips, and then cube it. The little bit of sweet potato skin there will add a little fiber, and it adds a little color to the sweet potato. Throw them in your pan. Do the same thing with the other half of the sweet potato. All right. There we go. Now we have one other sweet potato to do it to. So remember, cut off the ends again. Throw those in your compost pail. Cut your sweet potato in half. All right. Now, this one's a little thinner, so I'm not going to bother cutting this half in half. I'm just going to make a little bit more narrow cuts and then cube it more finely. So that they're approximately the same size as the other sweet potato cubes. So those go right in the pan as well. And we'll do that same way to this sweet potato half. Now, it's important to take it slowly when you're cutting a sweet potato because it has a little more resistance. Don't rush yourself. Just take it easy. You'll do it just fine. All right. There we go. Now, before we put this in the oven, we're going to salt it. A nice pinch of salt on top. That will help the juices come out of the potato as it cooks. And we're going to do a little drizzle of olive oil on top. How about that? Just so it starts coating them a little bit. All right. Now let's pop that under our broiler. All right, now that the sweet potatoes are in the oven, we're going to take a moment and get ready to start on our chicken dish. Grab your cutting board that you'll use to cut your meat. We can just go ahead and cut our onions and garlic on it too, because those are going to go in first before the chicken. So now we're going to need to periodically stir our sweet potatoes so they don't caramelize too fast and burn. So we're going to cut our onion and then we'll stir them. So cut off the ends. Don't slip on the peel. Score the onion down the side. Pull off that outer layer. All right, all that goes in the compost. Now, we want to do a nice textured onion in this dish. So we're going to cut it in half. Set one half aside. And take the other half, put that solid flat surface down on your cutting board, and cut it just in half again. Now we're going to cut this finely in one direction, but we're not going to cube it. So cut your onion all the way like that. And you'll see we have some beautiful pieces of onion here that will add a lot of texture to the dish. Set that aside and do the same to the other half. Ooh, I can feel the onion might start crying. All right, we'll set that to the side. Now remember, we're gonna stir our sweet potatoes. Grab your hot pad and a spatula. Take your sweet potatoes out. Give them a quick little stir here. You don't have to do much. Make sure that broiler is working, still on. Leave those in there. All right. Now, the chicken broth and water are boiling already. It's perfect. Turn it off. Grab your couscous. Now, couscous is a very quick grain to cook. It's semolina flour in a modified form. It's like a little tiny pasta, but a little different. So we're just going to pour that into our broth and water mixture. In it goes. All we're going to do is give it a quick stir. Now it's going to swell up and do its thing without any more cooking, so we can just let it sit there. All right, we have our onions all chopped. Now, this dish requires a lot of garlic, so let's get our garlic smashed before we start cooking. Crunch those cloves. All right, and peel them. Get all that tough little garlic outer skin off. This is a strong little onion. I can feel it making me want to cry still. We better get it cooking. All right, let's cut that garlic lengthwise, and you don't have to cut it very finely. We can leave it coarse and then we'll dice it in a little bit. So give that a dice in the other direction. Then, holding the tip of your knife down, chop it. All right, there we go. Now we are ready. We don't want to overcrowd our cutting board even more. That's a little crowded as is. So turn on your pan, nice medium-high heat. Do a once around with olive oil. That olive oil adds so much flavor to this dish. It's very subtle, but it adds a lot. And in go the onions. Now, while that's heating up and getting ready to sizzle, let's stir the sweet potatoes again. Grab your hot pad and a spatula and get in there. Give them a quick stir. Now see how they're heating up already and cooking? Some of them are even getting blistered on top. It's great. It's perfect. In they go again. And our onions are about to start cooking here. Let's turn up the heat a little bit. Let's get that sizzling. Coat them with olive oil there. All right, in the meantime, let's get our chicken all ready. So we have our meat cutting board. It still has the garlic on it. So I'm going to push the garlic up and off to the side of the cutting board so I have the majority of the cutting board to work with. All right, now we have our black wing chicken thighs here. These are wonderful chicken thighs. They're organic and they're full of really good vitamins and protein. No antibiotics, no bones in there, and they're full of healthy, happy protein. Set that package aside. Now they have a little fat on them. We're just going to trim some of that off. You don't have to if you don't want to. I just like trimming a little off. Healthy animal fat like this is actually good and it can aid in cooking. A little fat adds a little more sizzle to a dish. All right, so take each chicken thigh one at a time. Cut it into strips. Now meat it has a little bit of resistance when you cut through it. So don't just press your blade down. Do a little sawing motion here. And your knife will go easily right through it. Push that one to the side and do the same thing with the other ones. Sawing motion, cutting into strips. There we go. I hear my onions sizzling. I need to stir them soon. And you know what? I can also smell the sweet potatoes. They're starting to caramelize. All right. And take care when you're cutting chicken. It does a little wobbly thing under your knife sometimes. And you don't want it to slip and cut you. You'll do fine. Just take your time doing it. There's no rush. Strips. And then into chunks. All right. There we go. Set that to the side. Now pick up your spatula again. Give your onions a stir. Okie dokie. Cut here, just so you know. Gotta rinse your hands. All right, the onions are sauteing very nicely here. We are going to stir our sweet potatoes again. Remember, we don't want them to get too caramelized. So pull them out. Look at that. See how those tips are turning a little bit brown? That's great. It's exactly what you want. It means they're cooking really quickly, trapping all those bright vitamins in there. Sweet potatoes are full of vitamin A. My mom always used to say they help you see in the dark. Like carrots, butternut squash, all of that stuff is good for you. So, good stir there. Back into the broiler. All right. Now, the onions are sauteing here, and they're starting to get just a little bit clear. And since we're going to cook the chicken with them, we don't want them to be completely cooked when we add the chicken. So let's give them a few more stirs and a little more time, and then we're going to add the garlic. And remember, as always, we don't want the garlic to cook for very long, because if it cooks for long, it gets burned and doesn't have the same garlic flavor. So there we go. Look at those onions. Aren't they beautiful? All that longer texture. All right, scoop up your garlic and dump it in there on top. Give it a once around the pan, stir, and you'll smell it coming up from the pan. It's so good. Right away, we're going to add the chicken. In it goes. All right, remove that chicken cutting board, get it out of the way. All right, and stir everything in that pan. That chicken will start cooking right away on that medium-high heat. So good. All right, at this point, the chicken is just starting to cook. You'll notice that it turns white as it cooks. And this is where we want to add our spice packet. We want those spices to blend in there really easily. And that heat will help with that. Cut off the tip of your spice packet and sprinkle it on top of everything. Look at that red of the paprika in there. A little Spanish influence. Beautiful. All right, let's not forget our sweet potatoes. We'll give that a stir. We're going to give our sweet potatoes a stir right away. Oh, look at that. See how they're browning? That means they're almost cooked. So, just ready. We're going to be adding the zucchini to them because we want the zucchini to cook. But the zucchini does not take long to cook at all. It's just a soft, spongy vegetable. Stir your chicken and onions a little bit more. And we're going to turn them down to a medium-low. And let them just do a little stew cooking. It'll help those spices blend. All right, so for our zucchini, off come the ends. And we slice it down the middle, put it flat on the cutting board, and cut it into quarters. All right, now, we're just gonna dice that up into nice little bits of zucchini that will cook really quickly under that broiler heat. Wonderful. Now these will contrast beautifully with the sweet potatoes. That orange and then the green of the zucchini will be so beautiful. There we go. Okay, scoot that to the side. Give your chicken a stir. Oh, it's cooking up nicely. And not too fast. Okay, it's time to add the zucchini to the sweet potato. Grab your hot pad. Take the sweet potato out of the oven. And throw in the zucchini. Careful not to burn yourself here. Take your time. Add another little pinch of salt on top of that zucchini. And stir it in with the sweet potatoes. This dish is so full of color. I love that about it. Look at that nice pan of vegetables there. That roasting brings out the flavor. Pop it back in the oven. It'll need to go in there for about 5 more minutes, and then it will be done. All right, while the chicken is cooking and the sweet potatoes and zucchini are in the oven, grab your couscous. It's all fluffed up now, see? It's all done. Except we're gonna spice it up a little bit. Grab your lemon, give it a good squeeze. Now what this does, it loosens up all the juice inside. Grab your grater, pull off its cover if it has one, and zest the lemon a little bit. Now zest is just the skin of the lemon. It has lots of oil in it that makes it really flavorful. Gotta love a little zest. Take that out. Now I like to throw a little of that onto the chicken, and then the rest is gonna go in there with the couscous. Now our lemon, we've done its little squeeze here. We're gonna cut it in half, and we're gonna squeeze it on top of that couscous with the upside towards the palm of my hand so I don't get seeds in there. Give it a nice little squeeze in there. Try to get the juice out without spraying it across the room. Oh, I got a seed. There we go. Take the other half and do the same thing. That little lemon juice will add a lot of flavor to your couscous. Do a drizzle of olive oil. And fluff it up. Mix that in there. Meanwhile, our zucchini is cooking and our chicken is doing its thing too. Set that back to the side and let that lemon flavor blend in. Give your chicken a stir. It's almost done. See how the juices have come out of the chicken and the onion? It's going to be delicious. There are a few pieces that have a little bit of pink on them still, so we want them to cook. All right. I bet the zucchini and the sweet potato are cooking really nicely. Look at that, they're even steaming. A little blackening on the sweet potatoes is perfect. It's a sweet vegetable, and so those sugars caramelize really quickly under heat like this. All right. While everything finishes its little saute here, we're going to get the toppings ready. Now this is such a pretty dish because of all the colors, and the parsley is going to add even more. Grab your bunch of parsley and just chop it up. You can do it as finely or as coarsely as you want. Now you can even chop the stems, but they don't have that fluffy leaf texture, so I'm going to toss those in the compost. All right, here we go. A nice coarse chop of our parsley. I'm going to scoot that to the side, and I'm going to grate the Parmesan. Now Parmesan is a really good cheese. It has a lot of flavor packed in it, so it doesn't take much to add a lot to the dish. Just grate that Parmesan. Now it's a nice hard cheese, so it might take a little while to grate it all. But that gives time for the chicken and the zucchini to do their thing. All right. Take that all off. Cheese is wonderful. It's very special. All right, let's give our things a quick stir. They're almost all done. Pop open the oven. And I think these are done. But in order to keep them nice and hot, I'm going to leave them in that hot oven. Then they'll be all ready to put our dish together. But before I do that, I'm going to taste them. Turn the oven off. Taste your sweet potato. It's nice and soft. So good. Chicken is all cooked here. Done a nice job of sauteing quickly. Turn it off. Let's assemble our dish. It's a big family dish with a little of that Spanish influence. So we're going to serve it on a platter. Your big platter. And take your couscous first. Dish it out on a big heap. See how nice and fluffy it is? And you'll find little bits of lemon zest in it. And little bits of yellow. In goes the couscous out onto the platter. Spread it out so that it will hold all the veggies. Now, grab something to put your pan on because it'll be hot. Take your hot pad out and grab your zucchini and sweet potato. It's nice and hot from the oven. Be careful with this one. You can spoon it out, or you can do it like I'm doing and just push it on there. But I'm going to set that down because it does get hot really fast. Push your veggies out. And I'm going to get this last little bit on there. All right, the final scoop. Now, those veggies are nice and pretty on top of the couscous. The chicken goes on top of that. Now, isn't this a dish to put on the table at night? Throw some Parmesan on top and parsley. All right, we have a big meal full of color and flavor. Enjoy.